Hello, dear children. Welcome to Superior English. This is Simi Kaur bringing forth before you the thought-provoking poem from Flamingo, Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda, 1904 to 1973, is the pen name of Neftali Ricardo Reyes Paso Alto, was born in the town of Parral in Chile. Neruda's poems are full of easily understood images, which make them no less beautiful. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. In this poem, Neruda talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Before beginning the poem, I want to ask a question and want you to contemplate on it. What does the title of the poem Keeping Quiet suggest to you? Okay. You are sitting in a classroom. The teacher is explaining a chapter and you are as usual talking endlessly. The teacher thumps on her table and shouts, "Keep quiet." What does she mean? She means that you should stop your chattering so that you can hear and understand what she is speaking. That is, stop talking and start listening. This is exactly what Neruda wants to tell you. Keep still, keep calm, keep silent, and now listen. What your inner voice is wanting to tell you. It wants to tell you to stop rushing and start living. It wants to tell you not to harm the poor fishes in the sea. It is telling you to have pity on the sorry state of the workers who toil endlessly. It is warning you to stop indulging in deadly wars and to enjoy the beauty and warmth of togetherness. Stanza 1. Here we go. Now we will count up to 12 and we will all keep still. Explanation. The poet urges human beings to stop their activities for 12 seconds and do some introspection. What is introspection, children? It is examining and observing one's own mental and emotional processes. What am I doing? What will be the result of my action? It is self-analysis and soul-searching. So the poet wants the humanity to do some soul searching and connect with the universe. Stanza 2. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. Explanation. The poet further appeals to the masses to stop speaking in different languages for some time and speak only the language of silence. Language creates barrier of caste, creed, and religion. This silence will make us aware of the fact that we are human beings first, and our aim is to spread love, peace, and brotherhood. Let's not move our arms so much. By this, the poet means that let us not plunge into too many activities maddeningly without analyzing their purpose and repercussions. Repercussion means result, without analyzing their purpose and result. Stanza 3. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Explanation. We are so conditioned mentally and physically to rush, to hasten, to speed up and be around gadgets, machine and machinery that it would seem an exotic moment, that is an unnatural and an unusual moment, to be without them for some time. But yes, this would definitely foster togetherness, and this togetherness will infuse strength and courage and bring about love, peace and harmony. This is not an idle moment. This is not a passive moment, but we are enriching ourselves with love, companionship and camaraderie to bounce back into work with enthusiasm and zeal. When we are surrounded with gadgets, children, with machine and machinery, aren't we away from companions? Aren't we away from companionship, togetherness, happiness, family, community? So this is exactly what the poet wants to convey to us. That once we are away from these gadgets, from these machines, we will foster togetherness, companionship, camaraderie, love, and be rejuvenated, and then come back into the work with a lot of enthusiasm and zeal. Stanza 4. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Explanation. In these brief moments of silence, let the fishermen stop fishing and not harm the whales, and certainly the realization will dawn on them. And what will be the realization? That they are destroying the sole purpose of human life. What is the sole purpose of human life? Which is live and let live. Gio or Gine do. These moments of silence and reflection will also enable the poor salt gatherer to look at his damaged hands, which have been eaten away by the corrosive salt, and realize that they ought to take care of them. Stanza 5. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. Explanation. There are people who are waging a war against nature by encouraging the emission of greenhouse gases, which come from burning fossil fuels, from industrial waste or petroleum fuels, and which are deadly for mankind and the environment. Then there are also wars to take over oil, thereby becoming wealthy and powerful. There are also the aggressive ones who fight with deadly missiles and firearms. The poet strongly condemns them and declares that even though victorious, there will be no survivors in these wars. Why? Why there will be no survivors in these deadly wars? Because people who fight fire with fire usually end up in ashes. Because people who fight fire with fire usually end up in ashes. In these moments of quietness and peacefulness, these people who were destroying nature will stop their destructive activity, which is synonymous to wearing clean clothes. They will now bear a clean conscience and work towards saving humanity. They will walk about with their brothers, signifies that they will now understand the words like family, brotherhood, community, fraternity, which were long forgotten by them. They will walk in shade, that is in the warmth and happiness of togetherness. And doing nothing signifies the beauty and importance of silence. That silence is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything. Silence is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything. This is what the poet wants to emphasize in these lines. Stanza 6. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. The poet Pablo Neruda stresses the importance of silence and stillness, which should not be confused with inactivity and idleness. Life is about moving on, and he does not advocate death. Remember, the poet does not advocate or promote death. Death is doom and termination, and he in no ways means that. On the other hand, he wants to arouse man from his futile pursuits of working endlessly towards materialistic gains and understand the real purpose of his life, why he is born in this world. He further says that we are so single-mindedly, that is devotedly, moving in our worldly pursuits that we don't wait a second to think of the result of our actions, of our fellow beings, of our purpose in life, and just carry on aimlessly. And thus we are always enveloped in sadness and gloom. This is where this silence is going to interrupt this sadness. This is where this silence, which the poet is emphasizing, is going to interrupt this sadness, break this misery of rat race, agony of mental and physical pain, which was slowly drawing us close to death. Stanza 7. Perhaps this earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. This is stanza 7. Explanation. You do not have to go very far. The earth in which we are living can teach us how life blossoms in silence. See how nature, the trees, the flowers, the grass grow in silence. See the stars, the sun, the moon, how they move in silence. When we look at nature and feel it is still and stagnant, the soil is slowly nurturing and pushing up the daisies and tulips to come up and show its beauty. This is being done without noise, without hubbub, without commotion. This is being done without noise, without hubbub, without commotion. And finally, stanza 8. Now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. The poet says that now he will count up to 12 and we are to keep quiet, still, calm and serene, because silence is strength, silence is courage, silence is not the absence of something but the presence of everything. Now that the aim of the poet is achieved, he will take his exit. Now we'll discuss some questions and answers from the examination point of view. 1. What does Neruda mean by victory with no survivors? 2 marks. Answer. There are ethics even where war is concerned. If the war is fought for truth and justice, it is fought with grit and determination, and there are survivors who enjoy the victory. But the wars with poisonous gases, wars with firearms are fought for wealth and power and to satisfy one's ego, and therefore are left with no survivors. Because people who fight fire with fire usually end up in ashes. The lethal weapons and poisonous gases do not leave any survivors. 2. Why does the poet want us to keep quiet? This is again 2 marks. Keeping quiet or silent can have a calming effect on us, will help us to be at peace with our thoughts, introspect, and realize the futility of mad rush, foster togetherness, not indulge in catastrophic activities which bring disaster to mankind. 3. What is the sadness the poet refers to in the poem Keeping Quiet? This is 2 marks. What is the sadness the poet refers to in the poem Keeping Quiet? The sadness the poet is referring to is the sadness of not understanding oneself, not understanding the futility of mad rush, futility of harming animals, futility of fighting mad wars, and ignorant about the very purpose of a life, and therefore endlessly threatening ourselves with death. The last question, what does the earth teach us? This is again a 2-marker question. The answer goes like this. The earth in which we are living can teach us how life blossoms in silence. See how nature, the trees, the flowers, the grass grow in silence. See the stars, the sun, the moon, how they move in silence. When we look at nature and feel it is still and stagnant, the soil is nurturing and pushing up the daisies and tulips to come up and show its beauty. This is being done without noise, without hubbub, without commotion. This brings us to the end of the session, children. Hope you understood the poem thoroughly. We'll come up with some more videos. Do hook on to Superior English for satisfaction of any queries for English. Children, the English is definitely a little superior to enable you to enhance your vocabulary, which is very important for you because soon you'll be stepping out into the wide open world. So start lapping up the words and write superior English to fetch you more marks and make a confident you. Thank you.